Thank you much, Chairman Leahy and Senator Cornyn. Senator Grassley was here earlier. I know this is one of his subjects of great passion and interest, and he deserves great credit, as does Chairman Leahy, for their work in this area. So there are two areas that stand out as I look at the GAO report, which I thank the agency for. And the first one seems to be the volume question, and the fact that, as has been said and repeated, from fiscal years 2012 to 2020, the government-wide backlog of FOIA requests increased by 97%. We're all trying to get to the bottom of this, and the GAO report helps us understand. How much of this, Mr. McTighe or others, how much would you associate with our new mode of communication? In other words, we're not requesting documents, copies of documents, so much as communications through high-tech means, whether it's a text or an email or a tweet or whatever. Has this transformed the whole conversation about FOIA?
Senator Durbin, as I actually mentioned this in my opening statement, that we're seeing records and volumes in different forms that weren't could not have been envisioned when FOIA was enacted. So I do think that does have an impact on the complexity and the volume of records that might be responsive to a request.
And just first glance, I would say it's difficult to cull out the things that are relevant and important as opposed to those that aren't when we start dealing with these massive increases in volume. They are all in the nature of a communication, either sent or received. And is my starting point right? It's difficult to grade those in a generic way. They have to be looked at specifically.
Yeah, we look at every record and apply the FOIA faithfully with the requirements of the FOIA. I look at our business to be the business of transparency. And so this is a challenge, a modern day challenge, but it's one that we're working to meet the FOIA's demands.
So is there any speculation about using artificial intelligence to make this a more precise delivery of information?
Certainly, we're definitely looking at advanced technologies, including artificial intelligence, to help us with the search and even maybe the processing of records. And this is something that we've been very proud as co-chairs of the FOIA Officer Technology Committee, have a working group on artificial intelligence. We held a workshop as a primer for FOIA professionals to learn about artificial intelligence and see it certainly as the next wave of tools that are going to be significantly helpful for administering the FOIA in the modern day.
Is our federal government flirting with the idea or serious?
I would say we're very serious. We want the best tools because at the end of the day, we want to be as responsive and apply the law as fully and effectively as we can.
Let's move to the second item that came off as important to me in the GAO report, and that's the question of litigation. Can you describe in general terms the proliferation of litigation, how it occurs, and at what level?
Certainly, we've seen actually this past year litigation did dip actually slightly, but since 2012 there's been a steady increase in litigation. It's a small percentage of the 800,000 requests that agencies receive and process, but it does demand a significant amount of resources. And we see litigation coming at all different types.
Give me a couple examples that you think really account for the largest increase.
Well, certainly when there is a topic of significant interest, a FOIA requester might be incentivized to file a lawsuit closer to the statutory timeline, where depending on the complexity of the request, the agency may not have the ability to respond to that request within the 20 or 30 days. That's certainly one example.
Can you give me a more specific example, the type of thing that the ordinary person would understand? Oh, that's what a FOIA litigation is all about.
Well, first and foremost, Senator, for us, we want FOIA litigation to be the last resort. And so we encourage and try to advertise all the different avenues before a agency or requester gets into FOIA litigation. One of the key ways that we do that is one through communication. We have multiple articles of guidance that stress the importance of communication, so that if you're talking to the requester, you can explain to them why maybe they don't, they do have a complex request. They may not understand how our record systems work or why their request is complex, and that we can work together to provide maybe a more simplified request that gets them the records they want in a much quicker time. We've seen that to be a proven success story. Also, when that doesn't work, issuing interim responses, not waiting until the entire request can be responded to, but providing records as you can, so that the requester can see, oh, well, this is what I was interested in. Maybe they're not interested in going forward. Or once they see a selective response, they can maybe be more confident in tailoring their request to be simpler. Also, each agency, we have guidance on the importance of FOIA requester service centers and FOIA public liaisons to work with requesters, not only in explaining their handling of FOIA requests, but to do dispute resolution. We also advocate for very robust, we have guidance comprehensive on the administrative appeal process, where a requester can go to the agency and get an independent review of the agency's initial action. And then finally, it has been long saying our policy in administrative response letters to notify the agencies of OGIS's mediation services. And since the codification of the FOIA Improvement Act, including those also in our adverse initial response letter. So we want to give all these different tools and avenues for the FOIA requester not to have to seek FOIA litigation. And that's really where we put all our effort.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.